Mr. Birla, for taking time
My pleasure
with
entirely.
us. One of the things that I always admire is an entrepreneurial thing that happens even in a large group. Aditya Birla Group, while being very large, has created two challenger brands in terms of the paints Birla Opus and also Indriya that you have just recently started in the jewelry space. Um, how does a large group think about something which is very different in terms of how do you go about that?
So, we have a think tank that's always working on new business ideas. Those can be in completely unrelated areas, or they could be in areas that are adjacent to our existing businesses. So, fairly simple. There's a group of 8 or 10 young people, and it's a funnel. I'm sure you have that all the time, looking at funneling different ideas that come to you for financing, investing in. It's a similar process, but I think I'm sure, like in your case, it takes a long time to think through, to debate. We have constructive dissent that happens in the group. Uh, we look at the financial implications, the right to win, so on and so forth. And every business that's new to the group is set up as as an independent entrepreneurial unit. Uh, so it's actually, it's a gang of entrepreneurs. Although we're a large company, the spirit is that of entrepreneurship. There's a great amount of delegation. I think the restrictions are only to the extent that would be necessary for a large company. And after that, if there's alignment with the business and with us at the corporate, it's a very entrepreneurial organization. So I think uh, it's a misnomer to think that large corporates are not entrepreneurial.
No, we have had the benefit of being part of a company like Wipro, which used to create entrepreneurs. Now, we have seen in the last 5 years many startups in the last 20 years they've grown and become IPO scale. They've listed, but they are also going through their own journey of discovering how they should uh, change their mindset to being a listed company. Um, what would be your advice to some of them in terms of how they should think now being a listed company with a very wide public shareholding?
Well, I think the first thing is the governance structure would change. You need a board. You have to have, as per current SEBI requirements, at least half the board has to be, comprised of independent directors. So selecting the right directors, who can add value um, on the basis of their past experience, their expertise, uh, corporate governance norms being followed not just in form but also in spirit. For example, communication with your shareholders, both institutional and retail, the frequency of that, the quality of that. So there's a whole new dimension that comes into play. You're far more under scrutiny. Your life becomes, depends on which sector you're in, of course, a little more Q on Q, which is quarter on quarter.
That's
So I think it's important to accept that as a way of life, not just accept it, but start to enjoy it. Uh, because, once you're listed, the canvas is so much broader. You have so much more ability in terms of finance, at least, to do so much more and make such a large impact that possibly you couldn't before that. I think it's these governance issues, the structure, communication to outside investors, processes and systems that need to come into place. Otherwise, I think in terms of the business or the entrepreneurial spirit, I don't think anything should change really.
Yeah. No, so that becomes also the criteria for the company to prepare themselves maybe for a couple of years before with these governance running it before going public to be able to manage that better.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So one interesting thing, India possibly in the next 5, 6 years will become third largest economy, and will be possibly Viksit Bharat 2047. Where do you see startups contributing? Obviously, large businesses will contribute to this journey.
I think every constituent in the economy will have to contribute, whether it's the educational space, whether it's the startup ecosystem. I think the startup ecosystem would contribute by way of new ideas, by creating, employment, and it's just, they have a zest and a spirit that's quite different, highly positive. Uh, Obviously they're very, very agile, and I think they have a lot of value to add even to the larger businesses, which I was talking to Sudhir about earlier. uh, and I mean, entrepreneurial spirit, entrepreneurship today is considered as being something that is looked up to, as opposed to even 10, 15 years ago, where if you said you're an entrepreneur, people thought that you're, pretty much doing nothing. So the whole band or spirit of entrepreneurship is looked up to today much more than ever before. There's an ecosystem for entrepreneurs to flourish in. So many entrepreneurial ventures have grown, they've been listed, hugely valued. Uh, and I think that's the role that entrepreneurs would play in a economy that's fast growing and on its way to become a developed economy.
Yeah, with new technologies being assimilated by them faster
New
also.
learnings, new technologies, uh, which can be assimilated by larger companies as well.
Absolutely. And one of the things that earlier when we were speaking, you mentioned saying that you are deeply involved with BITS, and we actually have colleagues who have worked in studied in BITS, who are employed with us. We have backed quite a few BITS entrepreneurs. And how do you see in terms of your involvement in BITS leading to entrepreneurship cell and then leading to
It's not really my involvement as an individual. I think that it's a great institution that I inherited from my great grandfather, Mr. G.D. Birla, then my grand uncle, Mr. K.K. Birla. I've been the chancellor for more than about 15 years now. And I think it's more about the culture that has been passed on. And I think it's more about ensuring that that culture endures and flourishes. And a lot of these, clubs, initiatives are started by students, incubated by students. And for us as an educational institution, the idea is to create an enabling environment in which these can flourish and grow, and new ones come up, just based contemporary needs. But as they call it, BITS is pretty much an entrepreneurship factory, uh, which means that it just churned out so many entrepreneurs. There's something to the culture of the place that stokes entrepreneurship in its students.
absolutely. My daughter also studied
You
there
did tell me.
and graduated. So, yeah. Um, See, one of the after 30 years of globalization initiative, right? Suddenly now there are barriers which are coming in, geopolitical as well as tariff barriers which are coming in. How should the startup community look at it as an opportunity as well as areas where they should be wary of?
I mean, my sense is that several or most startups in India are more focused on India as a market. Not so many of them are truly global. I could be wrong, but that's the sense I have. I don't think that geopolitical shifts or tariffs should really impact them, except maybe to the extent if they, for example, are exporting to the US. So I think it's important to diversify risk. Uh, could be having more than one market that you supply to. If you've been supplying primarily to the US, you have to find new customers in other parts of the world. It could be about finding many more customers that you can sell to. My sense is that uh, globalization, as we're seeing it now, like I said, tariffs or shifts geopolitically. I don't have a sense, I could be wrong, but my sense is that startups in India uh, aren't really going to be affected as much.
Should that be seen as an opportunity because maybe we can start becoming manufacturing hub or something like that?
I think it would depend on what space the startup is in. Uh, it would vary from case to case.
So one of the things that Aditya Birla Group and you are also very focused on is philanthropy in terms of contributing back to the society. Even the way BITS got started and then being contributed to, and other healthcare related initiatives that you do. How how do you see philanthropy playing a role for even most of the others who today are becoming successful businessmen or successful executives, and what does it mean for them?
So for us, CSR is about, first of all, it's a way of life. It always has been. From the time that the group, as we see it now, was founded by my great grandfather, Mr. G.D. Birla, as you know. So for us, this has been a part of business for many, many, many decades before CSR came to be coined as CSR. Uh, one big part of it is creating impact in the communities where we operate. Depends on what the needs of that community are. It could be water, it could be different things, education. My mother actually heads the whole CSR part of the Aditya Birla Group in a very structured, systematic way. They measure the social impact they create every year, and then they tweak their activities accordingly. For us, giving back is something that is an integral part of corporate life. Going forward, I think that corporates are going to be one of the most important constituents of society across the world. And I think that demands from them by different people, government, and different social enterprises or social parts of, uh, you know, different parts of society will only increase. And therefore, we've grown up to believe that uh, businesses that help the country grow, create impact, uh, will become more and more prominent. My grandmother used to tell me that her ambition for her grandchildren, me and my others, siblings and cousins, was that we should become assets to the nation, not that we should be the wealthiest or anything on those lines. So that becoming an asset and creating assets for the nation is a very important part of our philosophy of doing business.
That's a very interesting perspective because many Aditya Birla Group companies today are assets of the nation. They are number one, number two in their categories, building the nation. So that's amazing that you're putting that as also part of actually giving back to the society. Um, Thank you, Mr. Birla. Thanks for taking time.
Thanks, Meenakshi. It's been
And
a pleasure.
it's my pleasure.